Yes, everyone, what's happening? My name is Stephen Howson. This is Stretford, Paddock, and I'm doing the news this morning because Joe's in later because you guys are in for another treat tonight because it is Late Night Live with Joe and whatever carnage is about to ensue. And I think I'm safe to say I can guarantee there will be some. Right then, so Ollie has just completed his press conference. But before we get into some of the things that he said in the press conference, let's talk about a double swoop. This is transfer-tastic, innit? This is all the keyword bingo that you could hope for. Someone might as well have come in and said, war chest, doors about to slam shut, double swoop. So Neves and Jimenez, double swoop. I've said some things about Jimenez in the past. One that it was really fucking unclinical. I'm not sure unclinical is even a word, but like wasteful. Should we say wasteful? Because as I was doing some analysis on him last season, sorry, I'm just missing some absolute fucking gilt-edged chances. I don't think he's quite of the ilk to be someone that's a big money signing for United. Neves, I do like Neves. Neves was in one of the 5 players that I said United needed to sign to get back to the top. So Neves would be a good signing. Are we likely to get 2 players out of Wolves? Now, I think that's going to be a massive issue. This is coming from the Mail. So here's what they said. United have inquired about the availability of Neves and Jimenez. Nuno, this is the interesting bit, has refused to rule out a move for Jimenez. Almost like, come and have the go. And obviously, Ollie should be keen. I mean, he better be keen to add to people in midfield because, well, we ain't got any, have we? Let's be honest. So let's go on Neves first. So Neves was one of the ones that I had in my 5 players to make Manchester United great again. 5 transfers to take United back to the top. One of them was Wan-Bissaka. I had Toby Alderweireld, but essentially the archetype of a leader of a centre-half, which we got in Maguire. But we needed a right winger, and Sancho, I think, was the one I had there. And Neves alongside, I can't remember, it might have been Ndombele. In midfield. This is obviously well before he signed for Spurs. But Neves was one of them. The reason I like Neves is because I think we need one of those ball-playing midfielders that's also a little bit of a goal threat at times. And I think Neves is that. We can't control play. We can't play in between the lines. We have, if you look at United at the bottom of like the through ball table, or there's like one team below us, something like that. It's just not good enough. United aren't creating chances for our forwards, and that is the problem. So I find it really interesting that we are seemingly constantly in for a striker. The Haaland stuff, okay, Ollie's worked with him, and I said at the time, if he thinks he's a world-class potential talent and he goes in for him, I like it because he's worked with him, he knows his capabilities, and he knows that he's the missing piece of a jigsaw that Ollie's looking at in training and going, we need and that is Haaland. Now, he's not got the same experience with Jimenez. And I look at Jimenez and I go, okay, he's big, is more of a traditional number 9 in the same vein that Haaland was, but I don't have the same sort of feeling about him that I do with Haaland because he hasn't worked with Ollie. He isn't an up-and-coming prospect that I think, oh yeah, this is a guy that has played in the league. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, except from the fact that clearly Ollie wants some sort of number 9. Some sort of bigger, more traditional centre-forward. I don't know what those reasons are for definite, because I do think we've got some pretty talented forwards, and I think the ones that he's looking at sign, certainly to me at least, don't feel like depth. Good morning, everybody in the comments who's saying good morning. I'm not ignoring you. Good morning. So the Jimenez one is strange for me, and the fact that even Nuno's even saying refuses to rule out a move for him, that's counter to everything else that we've seen so far from managers in the window where they're being like, you're not signing my player, mate. So I do find that very interesting, and I think that there might be something in this. Not hearing that there's something in this, but I'm going to have to say it does feel like there could be something in this. Neves then. Neves seems to get brought up all the time with fans because I think we all recognise that he's a very, very good player and he's a player that we would all like to see loads more of in the Premier League and someone that should be playing up at the top. Matt in the comments says, I think the only reason we're linked with these two is because we played them and it's easy, lazy journalism. There's a chance of that, mate. I'm not going to rule that out at all, but I would say that I think there feels like there's something with Jimenez. Neves feels more like this. Neves feels more like it's an easy link. There's loads of good SAO around it because we played them this weekend, and there's something with that for definite. I think when we drew Bruges, I mentioned that we're probably going to get linked to one of their players. It's happened when we played Midtjylland. It happened when we played these, that, and the other. I think some of these outlets, they link us to a player from there, especially when you've just drawn them in a European competition. They link us to a player there because they've got historical SEO then. So when they write their match preview, when they write their match reports, it already goes in at a higher rank than some of the other outlets that haven't mentioned Manchester United and Club Bruges in the same headline going forward. It's sneaky, but I'm onto it now. I've covered United online for so long now that I can see it a fucking mile off when we do it. So if you draw Real Madrid, you're probably not going to see too much of that. But when you draw one of these minnows that you probably don't know too much about, you can spot it a mile off that that's what they are trying to do. So Neves, as much as I would love him, I feel like this is what Matt said earlier in the comments where he says it's probably a bit of a blag. Jimenez, I think there's probably something in that. I really do think there's something in that. And I'm not necessarily over the moon with it, but it seems to me at least that he is something at least that it looks like Ollie wants. Next one that we're going to be talking about then is Christian Eriksen. Now this one is one that seemingly isn't going away. And despite everybody saying, he's already said he wants to leave England, it never goes away, does it? So it seems like Inter are at least thinking of pulling out of the Eriksen deal, as Conte would prefer Vidal from Barcelona. He really is getting the old gang back together again, isn't he? Conte's going with pure Mourinho sort of signings where he's just looking at players that are 26 and over and going for those ones. Find that quite interesting. Would we be in for Eriksen? Actually, Eriksen might have been the other player that I had in mind, actually. It might have been Eriksen and Neves that I was talking about. I would take him. Do I think that his form has fell off permanently? I think it might have done. I think there is a chance that it might have fell off permanently. I don't think that he definitely has. I think he's probably just at a club that just doesn't suit him anymore. I think the club has changed around him. The focus of the club has changed around him. And I think that there's probably not too much in it in terms of United. Although he is one that I think I would like to go in for. And he is one that I wouldn't mind getting. But I do accept that there is a chance that we might have seen some sort of Sanchez about him where he's possibly peaked, where he's possibly done as a player and might not be up for it. But as Ross says in the comments there, Eriksen, he says he's a risk. I thought he said might be worth the risk. But I would say he might be worth the risk. Depends on the sort of money that you have to pay for him. If he's a free transfer, happy days. George has also got another good point. He says, if Ollie wants to sign players for the right reasons, don't think Eriksen would come to us for that or to use for that. And I think that's probably bang on, to be honest. Right, there's a couple of people already asked about this one in the comments, but Ethan Hamilton, why has he come back to United? Is he going to be starting for United? What's the crack there? Why are we signing him back? So he made 18 appearances, which on the face of things looks like he was first choice. But since Sol Campbell's arrived, he's just not featured. So I think that's probably been a case of he's like in that 6 weeks or so that Sol Campbell's been there. Doesn't look like he's going to have him. Let's get him back on. Either send him out on loan again or bring him in as part of the first team squad where we are desperate for reinforcements. He is older than the likes of Garner and stuff. I think he got his debut early doors, didn't he? I think he was one of the ones that Jose debuted. I think he might have been. Yeah, he was on the bench. I can't remember if he debuted or not. But yeah, he is one. So I think that is the case. And that's about it for the transfer news. We've got another couple of bits of news. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference, which I'm going to get into in just a little second. But also the breaking news that Jesse has gone with Mino Raiola. It genuinely feels like Jesse's gone, what's the thing I could do that's going to piss off the most people? That's what it feels like. I can't imagine that he woke up yesterday morning and went, what can I do that would piss off the most United fans? But what he has done is the thing that would piss off the most United fans. With everything that's going on with Paul Pogba at the moment, with everything that's going on with Haaland even at the moment, Raiola should be a banned word at Carrington and at Old Trafford. We should be looking as a football team to move on from this guy. So what does it mean when Jesse announces him as his agent? This is a guy that's pretty much not needed an agent. I know he's got managers and stuff like that, but why has he gone now for one of the people that's known for moving people around all the time? Why? For me, it looks like maybe he wants out and he's looking for a guy that he knows is going to get him the best deal. Now, most people in the comments and most United fans of late, I think, are pretty sick of Jesse, even though I think it's a little bit premature. I don't think Jesse's a first-team player at United, but I do think he is the sort of guy that you need to give balance in a squad. He does do well in those games against the teams that are likely to have the ball more than us. So I think he's always a player that you can use in those games. But I absolutely accept that he's not the man to unlock a deep line defence, and he doesn't have the final ball quality, but he does have some qualities as a squad player. If he's cheap, we haven't paid anything for him, I don't see an issue with him sticking around. The fact that he's gone and got Raiola tells me that he doesn't want to stick around. On one hand, I can't blame him for the shit that he's got, which I think has been massively blown out of proportion. But on the other hand, if you go in hiring Mino Raiola, I think that says a hell of a lot. I always say actions speak louder than words. You know, I think even the most bog standard agent no one's ever heard of could find Jesse Lingard and move to a decent club. For as much as we take the piss out of him, he's still an England international, and he is still a player at Manchester United. I don't think he's on the craziest wage. I think you probably could move him on. The fact that he's gone for Raiola, I think that says a hell of a lot. Right, now let's have a look at what Solskjaer was saying in the press conference. I just have to get that up because I moved off that page. So let's have a wee look. Here we go. This is what he says. This morning it was... we hope everyone's going to be available, but we don't know because some are going to recover quicker from illnesses than the other. He said about Maguire, it's a little bit early yet. We are going to give him as much time as possible. He was hobbling around yesterday, but there's still 36 hours to go, so we will just wait with all of them. It's not a time to go out on the pitch and do loads of work. Anyway, we are going to give them all as much time as we can. That's the most correct and honest answer I can give you because some are not ready. We'll give them until tomorrow morning before I give them the team. So that's talking about some of the different players there and some of the different illnesses that are going around, which seems like there's quite a few of at the moment. If anyone's got any questions, throw them in and I will answer some of those. Shubham says Mino might get Jesse a decent club, which doesn't affect his brand value. Matthew says, I think Jesse has been hanging around Pogba too much and feels like he's not getting enough games, and if Raiola gets him a good deal somewhere, and he really is a super agent, I think he's definitely in that super agent category, but do you know what? It's not a good one. Amar says, is the news about Mino and Jesse confirmed? Well, there was some talk about it earlier in the week and people were saying 98% sure that that's what the case is. The fact that I think Sky have mentioned it this morning, I think that they wouldn't go with it unless they knew. It's not a transfer that you can speculate on. I think that sounds like it's something that's happened. Correct says, to be honest, Jesse isn't good enough. And I think he has his uses, like when you want to pressure opposition high, but the quality, which is what we've missed a lot recently. Yeah, ultimately, like, he was never a first choice footballer for me. He was a squad player to be used as and when. But there was a time that you could use him. Ultimately, we always needed a number 10. And this is what I've been saying all season. You look at the number 10s that we've got, Mata, Pereira, Lingard, none of them are good enough to be our starters, and that's why we've suffered. And Angel Gomez, although he's got wonderful potential, he's also been pretty shit in the 23s this season. And people are sort of like projecting on what they've seen him do sometimes in the 18s and thinking that that will be the case. But he hasn't played consistent football. He's not like some of the other youngsters that have come in on the back of playing dozens and dozens of games. So I think there's a little bit of blowing up what Angel Gomez could have been rather than what he actually is. Was the offer for Maddison and Jesse real? I don't know. I have no way of knowing that one way or another. Are Rojo and Tuanzebe be injured? I think Ollie mentioned in the press conference on Friday that they're nearing fitness, so they may be available for tomorrow against City. Should we be in for Cantwell or Adama? We should just be in for players. Like, it isn't like we are this highly tuned Champions League double winning Premier League football team where you go, do you know what? How do you find an improvement on, you know, a 30-year-old Rio Ferdinand? Probably can't. How do you find an improvement on a 24-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo? Probably can't. That's not us at the moment. You could tell me I can exclusively shop in the relegation zone of the Premier League, and I'll get us a better team out of that. Not a problem. Not a problem. I could easily go to the... Hang on, let's have a look who's in the relegation zone, actually. I think it's... I think Villa are in there, aren't they? Let's have a quick look. Right. So Watford, all right, I'm going to go Decore straight off the bat. I'll take Decore, strengthen the midfield, sorted. Norwich, there's several players you would take at Norwich. Bournemouth are in there now. Villa have moved out, but essentially if you just called it Villa as well, obviously you've got Grealish at Villa. Bournemouth, there's probably a couple of players I'd take that. I like Nathan Ake, I'd probably take him in as well. Like, you could easily go and improve Manchester United by shopping in the relegation zone of the Premier League. And how wrong is that, for fuck's sake? So I don't know why we're differing over transfers. To improve this team, for me at least, feels quite straightforward. So I don't know why we're hanging around saying, like, don't know what we're getting. The only possible explanation that we all know is true and don't want to admit is that this fucking board doesn't care enough about where we come to invest the money that we so obviously need. And it's not even necessarily about go and sign Mbappe now. It's not even about that. It's about, you know, I thought the Haaland price was a very sensible price. If we signed more players of the ilk, if you're pulling players out of relegation, how are they going to cost you £90 million? You know, there should be bargains that United are able to go and get. And I would actually like it if we did sign more bargains, because they seem to have a better hit rate than some of the fucking megastars that we've supposed megastars that we've signed for absolutely astronomical fees. But that is me. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Give it a like if you don't mind. We're going to be back multiple times today. I think we're going to be talking about Cavani a little bit later on. We've got a 3-point preview coming for the derby. Howson's Brew is live at 4, so come and join us for that one. And we've also got Joe's Late Night Live. See you in a bit.